All right, so welcome to today's class, which is going to be class 8. And today we're going to be, working on a sample project, which is going to be based on everything that we've been talking from right from class or the lesson 1 all the way to lesson 7. So, and the design we're going to be working on here is this. So this is the design we're going to be working on today. There like that. Let me open my brush. Uh, here, so brush. Um, and as you can see here, we have the design for the mobile, and we have the design for the desktop, just like any site you're going to be seeing online. So if you look at it now on a big screen on a desktop, this is how the content are being placed side by side. But once you go to a small screen, you see that the layout changes from the way it is before. So it's always going to change based on the screen you're working on. And that's what this one too is there for us to learn how you can do something like this. And in our last class, we talked about the responsive design, which I told you we have two methods that you can follow. We have the mobile design first, so which means whatever you want to do, you're focusing on the mobile. Then later on, you scale it up by using the media query, or you can start with the desktop first. It all depends on which method you want to use. So desktop means you focus on the desktop, and once you're done with the desktop design, then you scale it down by using media query. But I told you, doing it from mobile upward is better than you doing it from desktop downward. There are some places you might want to start at desktop, and there are some places that you want to. But majorly, starting with mobile design first is always better than um, starting with desktop, because 80% of people that is going to check this thing are going to be using their mobile phone there like that. So you want to make sure that this thing is looking nice, not something that will go to your site and I will not be able to do anything on my phone. You'll be telling me to go and find laptop. So it's not 2009 in those time that they will tell you you have to go and use this social browser, or you have to go to a cafe before you can see what you're looking for. So it's not like that again these days. So the site needs to be responsive, except some exceptional site like the dashboard. That those elements you not really enjoy working with them on mobile, but still it will still be responsive. Thought that there's a lot of things you want to do that you might not be able to do, but you should still be able to grab information for it. But in normal sites, which is what give information, it should always be responsive, and you always do things according to the people that are going to be checking it. And 90% or 80% of the people that are going to be checking this thing, they'll come from their mobile phone. And that's the reason why the mobile app is common these days, because people check things on their phone. But that doesn't mean they cannot go to the site to pick it up. So this is what we're going to be working on there like that. And as you can see, on the mobile, so the content are placed on top of each other. So if you look at this, we have the box for the image, and we have the box for the content. So on the mobile, they are placed on top of each other, but once you get to the desktop, you see now they are now placed side by side. We've talked about all the necessary properties that are going to use to achieve this, but now you need to know how to lay out your content in a way that you'll be able to apply your CSS. Because if you don't lay out the content correctly, this thing is not going to show the way it's supposed to be. So if you want to work on this now, you need to arrange your HTML in a way that you'll be able to apply your flex or grid. Don't forget, when you're dealing with grid or flex, you need to know about the container, and you need to know about the item. So if I want to do this now, we can think of this as the body, because that's the color there like that. So inside the body, we're going to be having a container here. So this container is the one that is going to hold the content of this image, and is the one that is going to hold this container of the content. So inside this container, so it will be the one that will now be, place them on top of each other or place them side by side. And if you don't want it to affect everything that is inside this place, it means this content too have to be in its own container. This image too is going to be in its own container. So it's not left for this outside container to place them side by side or to place them on top of each other like that. So, and again too, down here too, if you look at it, this container too is going to display all its items as flex, but they are going to always be stacked, whether you're on desktop or you are on mobile. So it will always be stacked on top of each other. But if you look at this side, you see that there's another application of flex going on here too, like that. So if you look at it, that means these two have to be in their own container so that by the time we display it as flex, the flex is going to be the horizontal, which is the row there. Because if you place them directly inside this container here, it means whatever you are doing with this container, it's going to affect them. So, and since you don't want it to affect them, so you create the nested container there like that. No, it doesn't affect any nested item. So, or whatever stuff you put inside it, as long as it's not direct under that container, then it's not going to change or it is not going to do anything with it there. Then once you are now done with the desktop, once you are done with the mobile rather, the next thing is now for us to just scale it up so that it looks nice on the desktop. And as you can see on the desktop, it's not getting wider anyhow. It's stopped at a particular width there like that, and it is center on the page. So on the desktop, this is the body. So inside the body, the same thing. We're not creating multiple elements. That same container will be there. The difference there is that on mobile, is stacking them on top of each other. On mobile, on desktop, is placing them. So which means we are only changing one property at that place so that it can put them side by side. And inside it, you see that that same container for the image is still there, and the container for the content, that one too is there. So this one too is not changing. It still remain the same, whether on desktop or mobile. The same thing too can be can apply here too. So if you look at it, there are two items there inside that button. So you display it, and once you display it, then you place them where you want them to be by using the flex property there like that. So let's do this. And as you can see from the code part, I've already arranged the project folder because every project we're going to be working on, they're going to be isolated from each other, because when you're working on different projects, you're not going to be combining them. Each project folder will have all the necessary files, folders, and materials that you need for that particular project. And where is this project coming from? I've already shared this thing with you, the file that contain all the necessary these things. So let me go back to that design. So inside this design folder, that's where you're going to see any design you want to work with there like that. And the one I'm currently working on is a product preview here. And inside each one of them, you're going to have all the necessary materials that you need. So under the design, that is where you see this is what I'm showing you here. So this is where it's coming from. So you are going to see what you're trying to uh, create there like that. So the images, this is where you're going to see all the images that are meant for that project. As you can see, we have this, the one for the desktop, we have for the one for the one for the mobile, and the one for the desktop. Again, too, this icon here, everything has been provided. You don't need to be going online looking for them. As you can see, this is the icon card, and the way they used to name them, it used to follow what you have to do. So you won't be lost at all, because the way things are set are there, it follow where you are going to be using them. So we have the image product desktop. So this thing is telling you that this is the image you are going to use for desktop, and this is the image you are going to use for the mobile, because they are quite different from each other. But you can actually use one of them and use your CSS, but it's better you use the image that is given to you so that you'll be able to replicate that design or close to that exact design there like that. So there's some projects here too that they don't have just image alone, they come with fonts, so you are going to see them too. But for this one, they did not give all the fonts, so because you can get it online, and I'm going to show you how to connect to external fonts there. Another thing that is very important here is this style guide, so which is the one that give you the colors. So for this project now, all the colors you are going to use, the font, as you can see, this font here and the F here is not the same thing as the F here. So it will tell you all the necessary fonts you need to use in order for you to be able to achieve the design that is going on here. So the color, the screen size, and everything, and the font size, it's going to be under this style guide. I have already copied them. As you can see, for the project, I've created a replica of it inside the VS Code under our class project there like that. So the project under it, I have this product preview card. You can name it anything you want, but in case we're going to be having a lot of projects, so I anytime I want to open any one of them, I know which one to open. And that's the reason I'm naming them according to this. If I want, I can call it P1, P2, VS Code, or whatever you're doing, doesn't care. But for your own sake, you should always use a descriptive name so that when you go back there later on, you know what is going on from the folder without even open the project at all. Like this P2 now, if something is here and you come back after like 3 months, what is P2? You have to open and start looking around before you know what is going on there like that. So, and as you can see here, I've already created this style of CSS and I've copied. So I copied this style guide, the image too, copy from that folder. So copy the image from this folder, then paste it here. The same thing with style guide that is here, copy and paste here. And as you can see, for the project, these are the color so that you're going to be using. So there is cream, there is dark cyan, they have this very dark blue, they have this dark grayish blue, and this white color. And again too, for the body or the text, the normal text, they're telling you that is going to be 14 pixels. And as you can see, the font that is being used, so the normal font that is being used in the project is its Montserrat here, and it gives you where to the link where to get the stuff. The same thing too for that text, which is this one here. This one they use for here is this name here. So we're going to be getting them, and the weights you're going to be using. So for this text, it's clear already that this is 700 because that's both there like that. So the weight is talking about the thickness of your text there. So for this one, you're going to be using weight of 500 and weight of 700. So which means almost all the text here, they are under 500. And for the bold one there, they are going to be 700. So these are the weights you need to copy from there because these thing have multiple weights like that. I'm going to show you how we're going to do that once we get to the CSS part there like that. But first, you need to have the content because the content is the first thing. What the browser is going to see is the content, or everything is going to come from the HTML there like that. And as you can see, I already started with the basic structure, the title, then inside the body, that's where we're going to put everything that we want. Again, to the project you are trying to work on, all these text that you have here, everything is inside that project, the project you are trying to work on. So index.html, that's where you're going to see all the text that you need for that design. So if you want to be doing copy and paste without you coming here and be looking at the text, like you want to hear exact text, because you want it to look like the way it is, you have to use their exact text like that. And in order for you to get all those texts without you typing in, each project have the index.html, and that's where you're going to find all the necessary text. You just need to open it with whatever you want to use to open it like that. So I'm going to open it with VS Code, and as you can see, all the text that I need, they are going to come here. So for the title that is here, that's the text coming up. So and for the other one too, it is these items are like that. So as you can see, 1499 point whatever stuff and so forth like that. So all the value are here. Your own is just to get the stuff like that. So what do we need to do? We need to start cooking up the stuff. And when you are translating, so what is given to you is just normal text, but you have to translate it to a proper code. So, and based on what I just explained from here, as you can see, we have the body. So inside the body, we're going to have this container. So, and we have different elements that you can use for container. No, that's the reason why we talk about also at that time. We have the div, we have section and so forth like that. But I'm going to be using main here since it's the major content on the page. So we normally use this one to group all the same there like that. But if you want, you can use div, you can use section, You can use either, but you should always use the corresponding tag where they are supposed to be used. If you use section here, the browser will not complain. No, the styling is coming from you. Just that you have to use. That's why they are all this one. They are called semantic tag. They don't really give you any visual on the screen. They are just there to represent different parts of the page or the site you are trying to work on. So main element, just like what I've explained before, is used to group major content on your page together. And since this is just our major thing on this page, so that's why I'm using the main to group it like that. And inside this main, as you can see, we have two sections. We have the image section and we have the content or the description section like that. So yeah, if you want, you can use div or you can use section there like that. So any one of them, it's going to work. So yeah, let me just disable this thing. So inside this place, what I'm going to have, I'm going to have the section. And since we're going to be having two sections, I'm going to call this one image like that. And for the second one, so another section, and I'm going to call it content. Why? So that it will be easier for me to select the first section with this class and the second one with this class. Oh, but if you're not giving them classes or you're not giving them any other way, so you have to target them by using the first section, using second section. But you know, if you rearrange the stuff, it means you have to go and check your code. But with this class, as long as the class is not changing, even if you move it down like this, it will still be targeting that element because you are doing it through the class, not based on the position there like that. So depend on any method you want to use. And as you can see inside the image, we only have one items there, which is that image there. But I'm not going to be putting any image right now because we are going to be doing it from CSS. We are going to use background. But if you want, you can actually do it from the HTML. That's right. Things here, it all depends on which method you want to follow. So here, if you want to do it, you can just put the two images here. You hide one based on the screen you are working on. So if this first one is mapping to the mobile or mobile will show it, which means the display is going to be whatever we want it to be, like block or inline or anything. But the second one is going to be display of none. So when you use display of none, it means it's not going to show. The element will be in your code, but it's not going to show to the user there like that. So it all depends on the method you want to use. So let's try this method. I want to use another method before, but let's try this method. So in order for us to get the image, we need to go to the folder. Then we mention the file like that. Again, for the second one, we update it to the mobile like that and we save. But right now, the two of them are going to show. But through the CSS later on, we hide one of them based on the we want. And again, too, we can just give it the class too to make it easier to work with there. So we can just say desktop. And for this one too, we can just say mobile like that so that it's easier to target. So the same thing there too. If I rearrange them, doesn't matter because I'm not using position to select them and select. But it's not every time you have to give all of them class. There's sometimes you have to use other selectors. And that's the reason why we talked about different selectors. So it all depends on which method you want to use to select your element. It's not a must that you have to be giving all of them class every time like that. Because giving names too is something on its own. You have to think about the name you want to use there like that. So and after that, you can see we have the second section or the second where we have the content. And if you can see inside the content, we have this text at the top, then follow by the main title of the page like that. So which means inside this content here like that, we're going to be having, so let me use, so here I'm going to use span. And why am I using span is because it's just normal text. It's not really, it's not a paragraph. No, it's not like this one. This is paragraph now. So we can use P for that. But this one is not paragraph. It's just like a placeholder that represent like describing or just like a sub, like a category of this type of whatever you are doing like that. So it's telling you it's a perfume like that because it can be another product that will be there. So it's just going to belong to its own category. So I'm using span because it's not a paragraph and it's not just any text like that. So you can use span. If you want, you can use P too. It will work. But I'm using span here based on what I just explained right now. So here we have perfume. So I don't want to type all these things. If you don't want to type it, just come here like that. What is it? What is he having? Perfume. What's wrong with the text? This is text. So that text is wrong. This is going to be the person that type it. So perfume, but I'm going to type it in small letter here too because we are going to be doing it from CSS because it's not every time that you have to type it the way it is here. So since it's a text, you can convert it from lower to upper, upper to lower. So here now I'm typing in small letter so that from CSS you see how you can do it. But if you want, you can type everything directly from here in upper and you don't need to do anything from CSS. But yeah, I'm going to do it from CSS like that. Is it giving me the correct stuff? All right, so just come here, copy the text like that. And why am I using H1? Because that's the major content on that page, and for that area, that's the major heading at that place. And again, we now have the paragraph. So after that, we have the P because that one is a paragraph. As you can see, all this one, I'm not giving them any classes because in that place they are just one. So through their parent I can quickly get to them like that. But you know this one now they are the same, so I need to differentiate them. So that's why I'm using class desktop and class. But if you look at it there now, each one of them they are just one in that section, yeah, like that. So I don't need to be giving them unnecessary class like that. But if you want, you can give it and select based on class, but you don't just give class anyhow like that. So again, after this, what we have next? So we have this section, which is they need to be in their own group because there are two things there like that. So what do we need to do? So here, I'm going to give it a class. I'm going to give it a pricing because that thing is talking about the price. That's I'm naming it pricing. If you want, you can call it X, you can call it Y, you can call it Z. This thing doesn't care, but for the reading sake, you should always use current name like that. So you always name. So yeah, I'm going to have this in that way. So we have the current price and we have the original price. Oh, I don't even need to do this because I've already said pricing at the top like that. So I will just be saying inside pricing that is current and that is original. But assuming they are standing alone, there is nothing that is describing them. So it's better you use current because then you just say current what. But since we are going to be using pricing, then the current that is here, then it's from that name already know that this one is talking about the current pricing, this one is original pricing or price, anyone you want to name it like that. So we're going to be doing the line from CSS. And lastly, we have the we have this button there like that. So inside after this side we're going to be having button which is for this add to cart. So inside it I'm going to be having this span where we have this add, or you don't even need span because you are not doing anything special to this text. All of them they have the same look, but assuming maybe this A it have the special styling apart from this to cart now, so you have to put in a span so that you'll be able to talk to that one separately apart from the other content that is there. So, but right now, we don't need anything like that. So, we need to, but is this the correct icon? Because this AI can be, I see now. Yeah, so it picked the correct one. So, icon cat. But if it's not even correct, by the time we get to the page, you see that it's not showing correctly. And I think we are done with the HTML part there like that. So, because there is nothing else to type again like that. So let's go to the page, and as you can see, we got everything looking here. But now we need to transform what we have here into what is here based on the screen. So and you know you can emulate your different device here. So once you click on toggle emulator, it will bring out the multiple screen emulation there like that, so we can toggle between different common devices there. Or if you want a specific device, just click on this, it will bring out a common one there like the iPhone 14 Pro Max there like that, so Pixel 7 like that, so Samsung Galaxy S8, this is how it's going to look on it, or when you go to laptop, this is how it's going to look. But now this is not the way it's supposed to be. So we need to make sure that things are in. And don't forget, we say we want to follow the mobile design approach. So which means here, we are going to take it to a mobile screen there. So whatever I want to do now, we'll be checking mobile screen. And once we are done later on, and we start increasing the screen and adjust the necessary parts that needs to be adjusted like that. So that's what we call the mobile design first. Yeah. So when you want to design, you go to mobile. And again, too, the stuff we are working with here under the style guide, it has already give us the design they use. So as you can see, the mobile design you are seeing here. So this screen you are seeing here, this the exact screen they are showing here is 375, and for this one the exact screen they are showing is 1444. This is the actual screen here. So this other stuff, they are the preview. So the actual thing here is this. So this is what you are working on. So that's why I circle it that time. So this is what you are working on. So all this one is just a way of showing the preview. They are not actually. So everything here, everything you have here is 1440. But that doesn't mean when you are designing, it should not work in between. So what anytime you are doing this stuff, even though the actual design they are giving to you is this two, but you still have to work in between because there are some devices in between what is given to you like that. But in a normal sense, even some designers say this is what they will always give you. They will give you the mobile one and they will give you the desktop like that. Some of them these days they use iPhone 14, whatever stuff, but that doesn't mean whatever you are doing, it must always. So you always start with this 375. So you can go on, then you keep checking again to that 6 months. I can see I've created like some phone that they are 640 like that. So I've created that screen so that I can see how it looks because you can create your own custom one. So all this one have been created. As you can see, you have the edit. So you can, once you click on edit, you'll be able to add your own custom device, or you pick from the list. Or you can see these are the one that is correlation, but they have a lot of option there like that you can choose from, or you create your own custom one, which is what I created here. So SM1, which is small, the SM2, this one allows me to use pointer so that I can test the pointer. The other one allows me to try it like it's on phone. As you can see, it gives you the phone look because on the phone there's no pointer, it's your hand, so you touch, so it gives you the touch and so forth like that. Because when you're testing things, you need to look how it's going to be, whether you are using a pointer or you are using the touch screen like that. So that's how it's here. But yeah, let's go back to this 375. And what do we need to do? So the first thing we need to do is to connect our HTML to connect the CSS to the HTML like that. And in order for us to connect them together, we just need to use our link by pointing to the CSS. And since I name it that, so it pick it up automatically. Nothing will happen because I don't have anything inside the star. But first, let's do our basic reset. Anytime you are working, as you can see, there's some silly white spaces going on here that did not apply at all like that. So I don't want all this space. So what do we do? So we turn off all the margin on everything. Again, too, we turn off the padding. I not say padding, then the box sizing, border box. So these are the three major resets you always do on all your elements. Once it's done and it gets to the screen there like that, you see that everything now, as you can see, there's no more spacing here, but it looks like there is still spacing by this side because that image, that's the end of it. That's where it stopped. Because if you that's where it stopped. But you can see the image is expanding anyhow. So there's some setting we normally do with image there like that. So no, this one now is not generic. It is now to image. So this one is talking about everything on the page. But the other setting we want to do now is on the image. So here we target the image, and one of the settings you always do here is to set the display to block and the width to be 100%. Oh no, I don't like this because it means even if you have small image and you put it in a big container, it will make sure that it's full the parent. So maintain your original size, but don't go more than where I put you. So here we can now do math. So if you want to do it like that, but if you use width, or if you use width like this, whether the image is small or is big, it will make sure that it's full where you place it. But with this one, if the image is small, maintain that your small size. So which means any other places you need it to full, you talk to it. You know, this one is generic setting. You can still do your other setting later on, because on the page is not every time that the image you are going to be having there is one, like that. So even though here, as you can see, each one of them, there are different image you are going to see. So here, you can see that it's full the entire container. But the setting first, do that setting for everything. But anywhere I need to make it full, I will talk to it. Anywhere I need to make it a particular site, I will talk to it. But by default, if I don't talk about you, don't go more than where I place you there, like that. So save, and as you can see now, it doesn't grow more than where you place them. So by the time later on now we talk to that container to be of this size, this image you don't need to talk to it. It will reduce automatically because it will never go past wherever you place it. Don't forget, when you use percentage, it looks at the parent, then it will take whatever. So since we say 100%, so if that one is 300, that means this one too will be 300. If it is 250, that means this one too will be 250, and so forth, like that. So which other thing we need to do? So another thing we need to do here is to set our font that we want to use. And how do you set the font there? So you can set it anywhere you want, but normally I used to use this root. This is another selector here. And what is root selector? Root selector is used to select this HTML. So whether you use this HTML or you just do it like this, both of them are doing the same thing. But this one is more than that. Why is it more than that? Is because there's some stuff that looks like this HTML code, and one of them is this SVG here. So this SVG here, if you check the code, you see like it looks like a HTML code. So if you copy it, if you copy the actual code there like that, like because VS Code is interpreting it already. But let's go into the actual file there like that. So and let me go into that image. So where are you? So image, expand like this. So you can open it with any other thing that is not VS Code like that. So for example, let me just open it with my text edit. You see the actual code. So it's just code that generate that image there like that. So as you can see, this is the code. But if you look at the code too, it looks like HTML, which have the opening tag and it have the closing tag. Then again, you talk to it through the attribute to generate the necessary stuff. So this one too here, when you are dealing, you can use CSS to style it. So if you embed CSS inside this place, the root now is going to be this SVG. So when you're dealing with SVG and you're dealing with style there, the root is going to be that SVG. So it's not going to be HTML again. But when you're dealing with normal HTML, like what we are doing now, so this root and HTML, they are selecting the same thing there like that. So that's what I normally use. So if you use this one, it will work, or if you use that one, it will work. But you always see me using this one a lot like that, or you see it in another code too. Anytime you see root, what is talking about is this HTML. It's putting everything on HTML. You know, we talked about that some of these elements they can inherit. So since we've already put it on HTML, it means everything that is inside HTML too, we have access to what is there. And that's why we normally put it there. Or if you want, you can just remove this one and do it on the body too. You know, every of your content, they are inside body. But most of the time, you always see this one being used like that. And what did I want to do here like that? What I want to do here is to set all my colors that I want to use for the project. You know, the color has been given to us. So when you're working in Resense, most of the colors, they are not something that um you just keep copying anyhow like that. Most of them, you reuse it in different places. So if you go back to the design now, you see that the color on this text, you see the same color at the back of this one. If you go more than this design, you see that one color is being reused in different places. So now imagine this color now, the designer come back and say, no, we want to change it to another one. So that means you have to keep going to where you've used it and start changing them one by one. But CSS solve this thing by giving us something known as variables. And what is variable? Variables are custom attributes that you want to set. So and based on that now, we can create a name for all these color. And anywhere we need them, we just call that name. So when you want to make changes now, where you define those color, that's where you just go to change it. and wherever you are using it, it will update automatically. It's not only color you can do it, you can set it as anything, but we want to use it for color now. And here, to define your own custom variable, or to define your own custom property or variable in general, we call it variable, or some people will call it custom property. So to define any custom property or variable, you start with double hyphen, then followed by the same pattern that you always be seeing all this your property. You know this one now, you are not the one that define it, it's part of the CSS. So now you are not creating your own. So to create your own, you start with the double hyphen, then followed by the name. And again too, as you can see, the project that's given to us, they've already named all these color, so I don't need to start creating name for myself. So here I can just copy everything like this, then come here, then paste it. But the problem is you don't put space. That's this why you see that anywhere you're supposed to have space, there is a hyphen in between it. So you too, you can have space there, or you either use underscore or you use hyphen. That's why I see this max is one word, width is another word. So you can't just come here and say max width like this. Of course, you know this thing, the code is reading space. Space is very important here when you have it in between the text. So it's see there now as a separate stuff. So in order for it to join them together, you are like that. So here now, the same thing is what we just did here. But now this is our own custom property, or we call it variables. So whether you call it variables or custom property, yeah, but I always be saying variables, variable now. They're like that. So now, anywhere I need this color, what I will just call is this dark cyan. So in case the stuff change later on, or there is a different cyan we want to use, I will just update the color here. And whenever you are using this dark cyan, it will update all of them automatically. It's not a must usually like this. We are doing things in a proper way. That even if you check this Mailverse site, you see that all these things they are being used there, because if you look at it, almost all these colors they are being reused. So the color here, you see the same color here, so it's not being copied around. So the thing is not copied around. There's a variable set there like that. And once you set your variable, anywhere you need it, you just say this is the variable you want to use. So in case this thing not change later on, you go to the source. Once you change it, wherever this color is being used, it will update all of them. Not that you'll be the one that will now be going there one by one to be updating the color. So it is known as variables there like that. So in order for you to see this thing, as you can see, can you see all of them that is being set by Elementor? So you can see all of them, those colors. So it is called secondary. Then the blue one is called primary. So anywhere I need it, this is what I will just call like that. So and that's the same thing we are doing here. If you want, call it X, call it Y. This thing doesn't care. The major thing is that just remember what you use for the name. So the same thing is what I'm going to do for the other colors. Yeah, so let the AI just complete everything for me like that. As you can see, AI is coming in because I don't need to start typing a lot of them like that, and it has converted them. So anywhere we need them now, we just need to call it like that. And why did I put it inside the root? No, I told you anything you put inside the root, they are defined on HTML. So which means whatever that is inside the HTML, we have access. This is what we call global variable. So we call it global variable. So it is known as global variables. Why is it global? Because it will be available to every element that is under the root. But again, if you now define a variable inside H1, for example here now, they define this color now to be dark because you can overwrite anything there. So I will change it to maybe red color like this. So this here now, this color, you can only use it inside this H1 and anything that is inside it. Whatever element that is inside this H1 are there like that. They are the one that can use this variable. So this kind of a variable is known as a local variable. So this is what we call local variable. So which means the H1 that we have here, this H1, so where is it? So this H1, the only thing that can use this color red here are this H1 and everything that is inside H1. So if you try to use, or don't let me even use the same name, let me use a separate name. Let me just call it a dark variable like this so that it will be different. It can be the same name there like that. But here I'm using another name. So this dark variable that we have here now, you can only use it inside this H1 and everything that is inside that H1. So what I mean by everything inside is the next, because you can have nested element. So those elements there, they are the one that can use it. This H1 can use it, and the nested element inside it too can use it. But anything outside of H1, they don't have access to this because it is local to this H1. And the reason why this one is global is because everything is always under the root. So there is nothing you want to do that it will not be under HTML. So that's why it is global. Every of the element you have on the page, including the body and everything inside the body, they will have access to this variable. But any variable you define in another selector apart from this root, those one, those variables will only be available to the element that is targeting and what is inside it are there like that. So if you want to modify the variable at the top here, you can always do the local one. So if you do the local one and the name is clashing with the local one will be used in place of the global. That's another rule you need to know. So any variable you are using and the variable that you have in local one is the same thing as the global one. The local one will be used first before it will go to the global. So which means if you try to use any variable here, it will check whether this element have it. So if it have it, it will use it. But it doesn't have it, it will now keep going up until it get to the root and find it there that, oh, you've defined it inside the root. But if the name of the local one is the same thing as the global one, it will never go to that global because it used to check itself first before checking the parent whether they have that variable or not, like that. So this is how this thing works. Because I've not explained it before, that's why I'm uh, talking more about it right now there like that. So what do we need to do next? So what we need to do next now is to talk to the body like that. And what do we need to do first? So let's do background color, because if you look at the project we're working on, look at the background that is on the body. It is that cream color. And as you can see, we've created the variable. But how do you revert to variable? Because you can't just come here and just say cream like this. This one doesn't know, this is not a valid value. So you know this is just a name that you are using to represent the actual value. This is the value you want to use here. You are just using this name to represent it. So how do you talk to CSS that don't do any nonsense stuff? Go to where this variable is and pick the value for me. So in order for it to work, we have a function in CSS known as this var. And whatever you be putting inside it is the name of the variable that you want to access its value. So since we want to access the cream value, we just pass it there like that. And once this thing is saved and we go to the page, you'll see that the background now is going to be cream. But you know, cream is close to white, so we cannot see the stop. But let's use that dark cyan and we save it. As you can see, it's working. The reason you cannot see before is because that cream is close to white and background is already white. So it will look as if it's not changing at all like that. So you can see that it's working the way it's supposed to be. So cream is what is there right now, not white. So by the time we started putting the normal white, here, you're going to see the difference there like that. So what do we need to do again? You know, all those are our basic setting we normally do on the body. So the mean height is going to be 100 VH. So which means even if the content is, you know, right now the content is really big, but you know, by the time we arrange it, the content is not going to fill the entire screen. So we want the body to cover from here all the way to here. Even if the content is not up to that yet, just make sure that your minimum height is only 100% height of the entire stuff like that. Again, too, the weight, don't forget the body is not stopping where the body is stopping where your content stop. So by the time you want to do flex and you want to place it to center, you now be, the thing is not going to center, you'll be thinking something is wrong. Oh, it's because the body used to stop where your content stop. We don't want it to, if the content stop at this section here, we don't want the body to stop there. We want its minimum height to be on this height. And the reason why it is minimal is because if the content is really big later on, you should be able to scroll up and down there. So that's why we're using mean. We did not use height. You know, when you say height, that's definite. It has to be that value. It can't go less, it can't go more. But so like that. So what we just need to do here is for the width too, which should just be 100% like that. So overflow X should be hidden because we don't want anything to be moving on the X axis like that. So these are some basic setting you can always do on your body. So minimum height, the width, and overflow X like that. These three are the minimum stuff that you'll be doing. Then every other one, because not every time that you change the color of the body like that. But these three are something you should always do on your body, because you don't want it to start moving around anyhow, like that. So we have this, but now we need to move them. We need to move the body now. We need to move what is inside it to the center of the page, like that. So here we can just use display flex. So align item is going to be center, which means on the vertical axis is going to be center, and the horizontal too is going to be center, like this. Right now, you're not going to see too much of things going on because a lot of content already they've covered the entire body. But by the time we started working on them, you see that all these things will come in place. But now, let me just disable them so that we can see the effect later on that something is actually going on the page. So the next thing we need to do, before you even go, we need to put padding, because you can see on the body, as you can see, there is some space around the stuff like that. Or if you don't want to do padding, we can talk to the element to have a weight like 90%. So that means we have 10% left, like that. But it will not be shared by default until we use this, until we move all the content to the center. Don't let me do it from here. So let's select our main. Now that's the next thing we need to target, which is main. Now we are targeting them based on the way we arrange the content. So from HTML to the body, and from the body now, we are going to the main, like that. It's not a must you do it like that, but it's always good you follow this pattern so that when you are reading, you know where the line to go to, because you arrange them according to the content on the page. But it's not a must you do it like that. Just good that you follow that pattern. So yeah, this one should be background color of white, like that. So save. You can see it looks like everything is covered, because by default, it will just go wide anyhow. But we don't want it to be like that. So the width should just be what this AI is giving us, which is what we said we want to do before, like that. So save. Width is good. Can you see now? See that the white, what is there is not white. So there, like that. But can you see now? It's not sharing it. That's the reason why I'm using that display of flex, align item center, justify center, and um there, like that. So that's the reason these three items are there. So by the time this one is active now, can you see now that spacing is not being shared? But there's a problem too. You can see at the top there is no space at all. The down part too, there is no space because we've not really arranged all the content. But if you want, you can just use padding here, maybe around that 1 rem. But instead of us using width here, let's just remove it, because that one too, it will force that space. Or I think 2 rem should be okay, which is 32 pixels, like that. So you can see it will give us that spacing, and by the time we work on all this image, everything will be placed correctly, like that. So look at it, there is something going on here. If you look at it here now, we need to place these two content on top of each other, which looks like they are like that before. But by the time you go to desktop, you need to put them side by side. So we need to display as flex, but we are working on desktop, or mobile rather. So we need to be putting all the property that it will work for the mobile. And as you can see, it looks like they are now stacked on top of each other. But again, we need to talk to this our first section. So we need to talk to our section. So we have section, or we have the image. We give it the class image, like that. So what do we want to do? I'm going to do some stuff with this one later on. But in order for you to see what is going on, let's talk to the image first. So we have the image. Since we are on the we are on this thing, we are talking about mobile. So this one, we're not going to do anything with it for now. So let's just talk to desktop. No, that one is showing already. So desktop. Then what do we want to do? Display is going to be none. So once I save it now, you see that only the mobile one is now showing. But later on, when we get to desktop, we hide this one, then we now show the other one. But let's go back to the mobile, because we are working on the mobile. As you can see now, things are looking, or I think this 32 is too big. Let me use 1 rem, like that. Once we get to a bigger screen, we can increase it. So the next thing we need to do is that this box now, we need to curve it. It needs to be curved, because if you look at it on mobile, there it's curved at the top and it's curved at the bottom. There are different ways of doing this thing. Do you want to do the work? Do you want to do extra work, or you want to do it at once? So what do I mean by that? You can do the stuff directly from, we have two sections there. We have the section for the image and we have the section for this. So what we can do is talk to that section to only give us this radius at the top here and at this side. The same thing too for this one. We want it at the bottom here. No, we've talked about border radius and we talked about how you can change each one of the edge like that. Or you talk to the container itself to do that for you. And what you now do there is that because you have anything that once you reduce a container and once it's inside it is more than that, they will go outside. We've talked about what you can. Let me do that one first. So what we need to do now, this main that we have here. So let's do border radius. And I'm going to do 1 rem so that you can see what is going on. But if you check, as you can see, it looks like it's not working at the top, but it's working down here. Again, too, if you look at the content now, it's not showing here because by default, when the content is more than the size of the container, all those ones they will keep going outside. So what do we need to do? We need to cut anything that is going outside. And how do you do that? We talked about the overflow, which is going to be hidden. Now when we're talking about the height and width, when the content is, you can specify how things are going to behave when they are going outside. No, we don't want anything to go outside and we don't want it to scroll. And as you can see now, so anything that is trying to go outside of that place, it will cut it along. And as you can see there too, our this thing has been cut. And the reason why it cut is because don't forget, so we need to talk to that one, which is going to be do I call it content or what did I let me remove this one. Yeah, so it is called content like that. And what did I want to do here? We need to apply padding because if you look at the content, they are not jam packed. It's not like image cover everything, but the actual content, as you can see, there is space inside that box. So let's put that space in so that we don't have all this stuff that is jam packed. So I'm just going to use this 1 rem like that. I want to save, as you can see, we have that spacing around the box. Again, we'll talk to it later on. But for now, no, it looks like this one we don't need to do anything, but we are going to be doing some stuff with it later on. But for now, let me just so what do we need to do? If you look at it, it looks like this one here, this one is taking like times 2 of what we have here on mobile. If you look at it, this one, if you divide it, it looks like it's times 2 or just close to 2 of it. No, we talk about how you can share the spacing in between all this. So if you want to control that, because right now it looks like they are half or it's close to half. But if you want to change that, what you can do here is to use your flex. So this one is going to be maybe 1. This one now we're going to use flex is going to be 1.8. So which means by the time all this number are calculated here, this one will be taking 1.8 or not up to 2, but it's going to be close to that. Another way of doing this stuff is by giving it a definite height in case you want to do that. But for now, let me just leave it like this. And the next thing we need to do is to work on the content that we have here like that. So what do? We need to display it as flex so that all the content can be placed and we can see there is a gap in between them. So this gap, I don't need to be doing it myself. So what I can do here is that container, display it as flex direction to be column, because if you don't display as column, no, they will go side by side. Because for example, now if you just say flex, you can see to change them to that, which is not what we want. We still want them to maintain this, but now, as you can see, some things have changed based on what we just did now. Based on these two properties, let me disable it. Look at what we have. Look at everything. But now, activate this one, go there. As you can see, all the button by default they used to stretch. No, we talked about when they will stretch, take all the space, and that's what we want. But if you don't want it like that, you can now adjust them. But we want it to be like that, so I don't need to change anything. The only thing I just need to apply now is the gap, which is now the spacing. We want to force that space in between them, and as you can see now, to force that this in area, which is 16 pixels, or if I use 1.75 like that, it will add more space. So it all depends on the level of the spacing you want to apply in between them. But this, let me use 1.25 like that, which is 20 pixels, or 1.125, which is 18 pixels. So the more you use all this rem value, the more, because they are common value. 1 is 16, 1.125 is 18 like that, 125 that's 20, 24 is going to be 5, and so forth like that. But the more you use it, 0.5 that's 8 pixels, since half of 16 is 8. That one, if you are using 16 by default. If you don't use 16, no, the value will change. So, and we've talked about all this thing. Again, so what do we have next? Inside that container, as you can see, we have this perfume that we need to talk to. And if you remember, inside the content, we use the span. But that is going to be a problem. Why? We said the span that is inside what? That is inside content. But if you look at it, this span is inside content. But these two are inside that content too. So which means here, if I just come here and do any changes, it will affect all of them. If I say color should be red now and save it, as you can see, it will affect all of them because all of them are inside it. So this is where the benefit of all the direct comes in. There's a way of selecting direct element. No, this one now, what we are doing is selecting descendant. As long as it is here, we don't care whether it is direct or not. But when you care about the direct one, that means the one that you are not passing through another element before you get to it, we have this direct selector here. So when you use this, what you are saying is that the span you are looking for, they are the one that you can find under this content, not the one that they are nested another element. So now, once this thing is saved like that, you see that those one, they are no longer being selected. But now if I go back to the HTML and move this one outside, no, that one too is not nested again. So once I save now, you see it will pick it up. So that's what it's doing. We don't want anyone that you put inside another element again, apart from that one that we're talking about. So as long as it is under content and you did not nest it again inside that place, it's going to target it. So that's one way of targeting. But if you look at it now, so if I don't want to do this selector, what I can just do here is, for every crazy selector, there's always a simple way of doing the same thing. So here I can just call it category like that. So here, save. So instead of me doing all this paparazzi, I will just do category like that. Save, go to the page, you have the same thing. So for every crazy selector, there's always a simple way of targeting that element. So it's not depending on, and that's why I talked about different selector, because that same element, you can target it in different way, not just in one way. So if you prefer the other one, you go with it. Which is this one, you go with it. So but always go with the simple method. Except if you know that there's no other way, that's why you'll be doing all those crazy one like that. And since we know that we've used some other one here, so we are giving that one to class so that it will be easier to work with like that. And as you can see, we don't need to start doing some crazy whatever. Even I don't need to put this one because I know that we only have one category. But assuming we have other category in another places too. So we are talking to it to select only the one that is inside content like that. So even if I don't put this one, it will work because that's the only one that we have on the page and it will not affect any other element. So for every crazy selector, there's always a simple way of selecting the element. But this is not the color that this thing gives to us. And I think it's going to be this. What did they even use there? I think it's this dark grayish blue. So it should be this dark. So if VS Code, you don't need to type that var. Just type the name of the variable and press enter on top of it. It will auto complete for you. So this is one I need. So it will auto complete. It's not a must that you type the var like that. Even if you don't want to complete, press Ctrl space bar. It will now bring it back for you. So which means if you type it alone like this and you forgot to type the other one, just press Ctrl space bar there. It will bring it out, and once you press enter, it will auto come because it knows that once you have that double hyphen, it knows that it's a variable automatically and it's going to do the necessary stuff for you like that. As you can see, the color has changed, but that's not the way it's supposed to be. Everything's supposed to be in uppercase, and again too, there's a gap in between each character like that. So how do you do that? Those are text property. Now these are text property that you can apply. One of them is this text transform, which you can use to change the case of your text like that. So by default, you have the lowercase, which means all the text, that's what I type from the HTML. So you will not see any changes. So we have the uppercase, so which means everything you type, it will take them to the uppercase like that. Or we have the capitalized. So what this one doing is that starting point of each word is going to convert just like this one. G is capitalized, E is capitalized. But that doesn't mean to change the other one. Whatever the way you type the other one, that's the way you leave it. So which means if this one is arrow like this, it it will not change that R to small letter. It doesn't change every other one. The only thing it's changing is the first letter. Then it leave the remaining one the way you type it. It doesn't change the remaining one. So what it does is that the starting point of each one of them, it take it up, leave the remaining one. It doesn't touch. So which means this arrow that is here, the way I type it, let me even type, let's do it down here. So this perfume that you have now, so let me just type arrow like this. So for all the other one, they do the conversion for you automatically. So whether it convert it, the same thing too if it is lowercase, like that, everything will go down. Doesn't care. Everything will go down. But when you say capitalize, he doesn't care about the other text. The only thing he's focusing on is the first one that you have there. So he doesn't focus on every other thing, it leave it the way it is. So he doesn't convert to lowercase for the other one. So which means you have to arrange your content or you use JavaScript to do it. So capitalize doesn't do that for you. You only focus on the first letter of each word. So which means you have multiple words there. Usually the starting point of each one of them is changing. But what we actually need here is the uppercase. So how you talked about the gap in between each text. So we have two types. If you have multiple texts, then Gabriel and is one, essence is one. So if you now want to have more spacing in between them, that is word gap. So we have the word spacing. But when you're talking about each character, that's what we call letter spacing. So we have word spacing. So we have the word spacing there like that, which is not what I need right now. I'm talking about each character. So now what you need to do is letter spacing. And whatever value you give here, that's what it's going to use like that. For example, if I use 3 pixels, which means in between each letter, the gap here is going to be this 3 pixels wide. So like that. So you don't give it a crazy value. Because if you give more than one crazy value, you see that there's going to be too much of gap in between the stuff. But I think let me just use 0.5 area, which is 8. No, 8 is too much. 4 area, 4 pixels like that. So save it. It's going to give me what I want. But our design, our text is not looking like the original design. Look at their own text. Their own text is on, their P is on having all these pencil mark and so forth like that. What is happening here is that by default, when you don't specify the font that you want to use, the browser is using serif. And serif is all those ones that used to have these pencil marks. So when you're talking about fonts, we have different font family that you can use. And one of the family is this. So let me go up so that it will apply to everything like that, because I want it to apply to everything. So font family like that. So everything on the page, whatever I specify here. So we have a family known as this sans serif. Sans serif are fonts without all these pencil mouths. So they are normal like four corner box. They look like four corner box like that. Save. Yeah. Did I change this one? Yeah. So this is what I'm saying here. So if you look at it, they are like all these four corner box. They don't have sharp edge. They always have this kind of a for like a box. So this is what we call sans serif. The one that is there before that the browser you always use by default is this serif there like that. So once you save it, as you can see, those one that used to have all this pencil mark, like something like you can point into a hole like that. So this font they are using here is actually coming from that family. That's why it is called family. So you can have different fonts under it. You can look at the way the G here or the way the D here is on the same thing as the way the D here, but they look alike. It's because they are under the same family. But that doesn't mean they always have the final look, but all of them will have that pencil mark like that. So they are called the serif family. Those one that doesn't have pencil mark, they are called the sans serif family. So those ones that look like typewriter are there, they are known as monospace like this. So all this one, they will be like typewriter font. This is not the actual typewriter, but this is the default one on this computer. The one it's going to pick is depending on the one you have on the default ones. You can see it looks like typewriter stuff, but this is not the actual typewriter. So if you need typewriter, you look for that font and you include it there like that. So another font we have there is cursive. So these are all those curve so this is the family. So it will pick the default one on this. If you check it on the window, it might be different from this. So it will pick the default one on your system like that. But you can actually look for uh put the one you want. But the font we actually need, which is the one that I said we need to have here, which is this. So this Montserrat here, how do you know where it's coming from? How do you know where this one is coming from? The link has been given to us like that. So we don't need to do too much. What we just need to do here, copy the link so that we can generate the font we need. You can see we need to generate Montserrat from this Google, because Google have free fonts that you can use. Once you go there, it will generate the necessary CSS behind the scene. Your own is just to connect the link to your page. So your page will go there, download the necessary stuff you need for that font, and it will display it anywhere you are using it. But how do you do it? So just copy the link that is given to you, or you can always go to fonts.google. If you know the name already, or you don't have the link, you just know the name of the font, just go to this font.google.com. As you can see, just put the name of the font like that. For example, that Montserrat that you have here, so just search for it. You see that it will go to that page. But since you already have the name, you already have the link, just paste the link. As you can see, to give us the same thing. The same thing here too for this one. Just copy the name, or since we already have the exact link to it, we just paste it in the browser like that. So it will go, as you can see. So can you see the font? So this is how the font it will. So and again, you can test it. Just pass the text. Whatever text you pass there, it will show you how it goes. But that's not your own job. It's a designer work, and that's the reason why we now, it has been given to us. Our own is now to implement the stuff. And how do you implement it? The link that is given to you, if you have the link, but if you don't have the link, just come here, search for the font, and you click on the one you are looking for. And once you got the stuff, as you can see, the next thing you need to do is to click on get font. Once you get font, it will add it to your cart there like that. So once you click on it, as you can see now, it's showing us that we've added one font, because not every, you don't need to be doing, if you have multiple fonts, you can have all of them, then you now get the final code. Not that you don't need to download sef. That one, if you need it on your system, that's when you download. It will give us the code that we're going to put in our HTML. As you can see, get embedded code like that. Again, here too, so just get font. As you can see now, it's showing us that we have two font. In case you go back to the page or there, you can always click on this thing. So once you click it, it will bring you can see right now, say we have selected the Montserrat and we selected this one. And again, too, to show you how to use them or how the Montserrat. So if you want to see how it looks like, click on it. It will take you to the page of that font, and it will give you, as you can see, the weight. You check different weights you want like that. So it supports, as you can see, this is 100. This is how it's going to look like when you use weight of 100. This is how it's going to look like when you use weight of 100, and the style is italic. So for the 200, this is how it look like. So it will show you the weights that you need to use like that. So when you use 700, so this is how it's going to look like. And when you use 900, this is how it will look like, and so forth like that. So let's just go back to that place. What you just need to do, if you want to download it and use it on your system for your design directly on system, you download and install. But that's not what we want. We want to use it on our own website. And as you can see, there are different places you can use it, whether in the Android, when you're developing for Android app, when you're developing iOS app, it will show you how to do it. Or when you're using, this is another framework that you can use to develop mobile app there like that. So it will show you how to use it. But no, our own is web. But when you're dealing with web, there are two methods you can use. We have the link method and we have the import method. So this one is when you want to do it in the HTML, and this one is when you want to do it inside CSS. So when you want to do inside CSS, as you can see, you copy all this and you paste it inside your CSS, or you put it in between this style like that. If you still want to put it inside there, but I will copy this one. So as you can see, all this link, just copy all the link. And can you see, it's telling us that it's going to, for this our font here, is going to download from 0 all the way to 900 like that. But I don't need that. If in any one of them you need, just mention in there, because you know the designer already told us for Montserrat we only need 500, because when you download more, you are increasing the size. Because this thing have to come to this Google here, download all the necessary stuff that the user can use. So which means if you download all of them, if it's just two, maybe that one is just 2 kilobytes. But when you download everything, that one can be like 200 kilobytes. But to us, it's not that much. So let's just copy everything. But if you care about the size, you mention only the one, the weight you want. You can see here. So mention different weight, just mention weight, comma, comma. But if it's a range of weight, you put dot dot. So this one means from 9 all the way to 144. You don't need to be mentioning the one by one. So in the range, you use dot dot. But if it's a specific weight you want, just comma there like that. But I will just copy everything so that it will give us all of them. So we go into the HTML. So somewhere here, before our own CSS, we just paste all the code like that. So this one now, the browser knows what to do. So it will so it will come here, as you can see, it's a CSS too. So instead of us doing, you are going to see how to do what this Google is doing behind the scene later on. By the time we're working with our own local font, like one of the project there, you already have the font. Not that you go to Google to download. So now how do you now connect to that kind of stuff? So what the Google is doing behind the scene through this file, we're now going to be doing it at that place. But for now, let Google help us, because with this an advantage now, we are not hosting the font. The user browser will always go to Google to go and download it. And not that it's part of the project that you need to download. And when you want to upload your project, it will increase the size. When you have font is not that the font you highest you have there. If you are using all these simple font these days, highest you get is 200 kilobyte or so like that. You are not including more than what you need like that, because when you are doing this thing, you don't just want to upload anything anyhow, because whatever you upload, that's what the user too needs to download. And if someone needs to download something on 1 megabyte before they can see your site, no, it's not that ID like that. So let me save like this. But going back to the page, nothing will still happen, because you have to be the one that will talk to this, that this is the font family to use. But how do you use this font family? Each one of them, when you want to use it, Google will tell you the name that you have to use. So when you're dealing with Montserrat, can you see? This is what you have to type. And what is the family? The family is sans serif. What this thing is saying is that this font here, it's coming from sans serif. And it's always good that when you mention a font, you always put the family after, so that when the network or when the browser is loading this font, it will have something to fall back to. If your font is coming online and the browser have to download it, if network is slow, you see that it will be using the font of the browser first before it will now switch to that one when it's done downloading. So you should always give a fallback. So if you look at it, can you see that that one is coming from serif, because it's come from the pencil mouth family like that. So here now, since we want all our this thing to use that font, so what I'm just going to use here is to use Montserrat, come outside, then sans serif. In case this one is still loading, just fall back to this one. Then when this one is done loading, it will switch, because the browser is smart. If it cannot find this font, what it will do is that it will go to the default the fallback. But once that one is back like this, it will switch to it. And that's why you always see when you go to some site, you see a lot of them, they use a lot of font, because you can specify more than 2 3. What that one means is that any one of them you cannot find, it will fall back to the next one that follows it like that. So I will just save this one, go to the page there like that. So once this thing is still loading, it will fall back to the default. Can you see that there's a switch? If you look at it, there's a switch here because of the network. Look at the font, look at the G. But it will get to a particular point, it will switch depending on the network speed. Let me reload it yeah, because it has been cached. Let me delete cache, because the browser is smart. All those kind of stuff, it will store it in storage. So next time you load it, it will just pick it from another. It will go and download the stuff again and again. Let me go to the network tab, so you see everything that the browser is doing. As you can see, it comes to this side. Can you see what the Google is doing? So this is what the Google is doing for us behind the scene, just CSS, but we are going to do it by ourselves later on there like that. Can you see what he said? From memory. So he did not download it again. It already saved in the browser memory like that. But what I can just do, you can clear, so you can always clear the stuff. So hold down this stuff, as you can see, empty, and add reload. So when you need that, it will clear. Can you see that it's kind of like a jump, because the network is really fast. If you look at this text, you see that there is a jump in between it. So let me add reload. I see there's a jump in between the text. What it's doing is that first it fall back, or let me even use something that is not in that family, so that you see that it actually. So let me use something that is not in that family like that. So let me empty it again so that it doesn't. As you can see that it is visible now. What it does is that since we mentioned that font and that font is not on my system yet, what it do that, it will go back to the default one that you specify. Since I not specify anything, it will go back to the one the browser is using, which is serif. So it will go and download the stuff. So once it's done downloading, then to see that those files are now available, then to now switch to the stuff. And that's why it's always good that you put the backup from that family, so that by the time the switching is being done, the changes is not that much, because it's still at that family, just little change that you are going to see. Even though they are coming from the same family, they are not the same. Can you see? There's a subtle difference. So the download is depending on the network that you are using. And I can slow down the network set. So you can only slow down the network. So yeah, you can use slow 3G like that. So empty. So it will mimic a slow network. You can see that it's still loading, like your, so as you can see, it's loading them one by one. As you can see. So when someone is on this kind of a network, that's how they are going to experience. So you can always emulate all these things so that you'll be able to make sure your app work correctly. But for now, we don't need to be doing all those one, because you are dealing with the HTML and CSS. But when you're talking about the performance of your app, you need to make sure that your site still work under a specific condition. Because to us, it's looking like everything is fast. But when you try it on someone that now has slow network, you now look at, am I the one that actually developed this thing? So that's how this thing works. So what do we need to do now? Let's quickly move forward with this thing. So now we need to do this. No, we've downloaded all the necessary font. No, we've changed the font for everything, but this specific H1, its own this thing is different. So let's go down there like that. So that's the next thing we need to select. So now the font family for this one is going to be that our this name, this France name. And once I save now, so you can see that it's a switch there too, because it needs to download it. And once it download, it will switch automatically like that. And since it's already been downloaded, the browser is smart, it will save it in a cache. It will, because some of the stuff when in that the image and also for like that, you can tell it that one, or by default, once it's downloaded, it doesn't go there again to go and fetch. It will fetch it in its own storage. The browser have where it used to save all this data, so that when you go there next time, it will load fast, not the way it loads the first time. But first time, it needs to download them first. Well, it's not there at all. So what do we need to do? If you want, you can increase the H1, but again, the font is the color is different. If you look at this text, it's not black. If you check it, it's not black. So the color is using, it has been given to us, which is this very dark blue. It's just close to that dark, but it's not. So we need to change the color. So the color is going to be very dark blue like that. So save, go to the page, it will change in the color. Again, so this our P is using the same color as this one we have at the top letter like that. So is there any other P? I think that's the only P we have there. Yeah, so we can just target it directly as P. So the color here is going to be that very no dark grayish blue, I think. So go back to the page. Yeah, so that's it. So it's going to give us that color. But if you look at the text, see that there is a spacing in between each line of the text. So that is known as line height. So what is the height of each line? So here, the line height accepts two type of value. It accepts value with units and the value without units. And the value you should always use is the one without unit. Why? So when you give it a value without unit, whatever number you put there will be multiplied by the font size of this element. So if the font size of this element is 14, that means the line height will just be 14 times 1. So if the line height is 1.6 and the font size is 14, it will be 1.6 times. So which means if you change font, it will adjust the line out automatically, which is what you normally do in Word, that you do line 1.5 whatever stuff. So this is how to do it here like that. But if you give it your own unit, it doesn't do multiplication again. It will be using what you put there. So which means if you change the font size, it doesn't care. It will maintain this one. As you can see, things will now start going, because when you use a less line height of the font, like if the line height is less than font size, it will start jam packing together. But if the line height is more than the font size, then you have more spacing. So this one is not 14. That's why it jump, because by default the font size is 16 if you don't change it. But now let's change it to 14, which is going to be 0.75 rem, so that when they change the 0.875 rem like this. So by default that is what you use, and as you can see, there is a little bit of gap because it's just 1 1. So which means they are the same thing like that. But if I use 16, it has increased, it will increase a little bit. But I don't want to be doing that. I want it to be multiplied by this. So let me just do 1.5. When 1 is 14, but no, we have extra this thing there. So once I save this now, to give us that 1.5 spacing, or if you want double spacing, just use 2. So which means if the font is 18, that means it's going to be times 2 as a line height like that. But I think 1.5 is okay. I think so. Yeah, I think it's okay like that. And again, too, we've used the 14 pixels that they designed. And again, too, here too, we did not change it like that. So let's change it for this one to this category. So font size should be 14 pixels. Not, I don't want to be using pixels. 0.8875 rem, like that. So save. Go back to the page. You see that one too. It's going to have that. So now let's quickly work on this one. What did we call it? So here we call it pricing. So this pricing is just simple stuff. We don't need to do too much because a lot of things we've explained it. So we have this pricing. We just need to display it as flex. And once you do that, you see that it will put them side by side like that. But inside the pricing, we have the what did I call it? The other one is current, and we have the original. So we have the current. The current is really big. So we are talking about current. That one is big, and the color is that. So the color is going to be that is it dark? Yeah, it should be this dark cyan. So go there now, as you can see. Again, the font weight is going to be 700, and at the same time, the font family of this one too. No, it's going to be that our come out. What's the name of that? Yeah, so Fran, whatever stuff. Yeah, complete this thing. So save, and as you can see, it will update it like that. Again, too, we need to increase its font size. So font size, we need to use around that. They did not give us the size for it, so that means we have to be using. So let me just use 1.5 rem like that, which is 24 pixels, like that. So, and I think let me use 1.75, which is 28, and I think it's okay like that. So again, we need to change the color of this one. The color supposed to be that gray, and you need to draw line on top of it. So for this one, we have pricing and we have the original. So the color should be this, and the text decoration is going to be line through like that. But you can change the color of this text decoration. So we have the text decoration is a shorthand property. So it have the text decoration line, which is the type of the line you want it. So one of the line here is this line through. So which means the line will go at the center. But we have overline, so which means the line will be at the top, or we have the like that. So it depends on which one. Again, too, you have the thickness. So if you want the stuff to be thick, so you can just like your border. So again, it have the style that you want to use and so forth like that. But we don't need all this one. What we just need is by default, if you don't specify the color, it will pick the color of the text. And that's why you see that he's using the same color. But if the color is different, then you now use the decoration color and change the stuff. But most of the time, the color is only the same. So the only thing you just change is text decoration like that. So if you want it to be under, so you just use underline. So that's the type. So we say underline now. So that's what I mean by the type of the line. But the line we need here is the line through, not that one. So for this one, what's going on with this thing? So okay, save, and the font of this one too should be this, and I think that's all at that end. What we just need to do, because I've changed it, the color has area, I've already changed the color. This is it. I've changed the color. So now we need to work on this button. So we have the button there. So display as flex. Why? Because we want to move all this. Can you see that they scatter around? Both of them supposed to be at the center. Let me change background color first so that we can see what is going on. So the background color is going to be dark cyan like that. So it's going to be dark cyan. You can see that the two of them scatter around. Again, the border radius is going to be 0.5 rem like that. So the color is going to be white so that everything show white. That line there, we don't need it. Border is going to be none. We don't need border at all, at all, at all. So that black line now is gone. So we need padding inside the box. So padding is going to be, let's just use one rem like this. But we need to move these two things to the center and place them side by side. So display as flex, then align item should be center like that. Then justify center. Then cursor should be pointer like this, and gap, because now by default there is no gap. As you can see, it will jump back together. So what we need to do is to give it a gap of that. Let's just do 0.75 rm, which is 12. Just a little bit of gap. Again, I think those texts are kind of a bold. Yeah, the texts are bold. So fonts weight is going to be, let me try 500. I think, let me try 700. Yeah, so it's okay like this. And we can add some stuff. You can see that design did not look good on desktop. You can add some stuff. You can add some stuff so that anytime you over on it, you want to, just do some. So you can just do button over like this, over. So what we can just do is to just, if you want, you can create another one that just reverse the color, like darken it a little bit. So here I can just come here and just say 2. Now don't forget I've talked about this color. This is where you can increase the lightness and the dark. Now this is now. So I can just reduce it to around that 20. So it is going to be the same thing but a darker version of the color. So here we just need to use background color like that. So it's just going to be this, and anytime you go there now it will give us, but I think it's too dark, so this will be 25. Too much. Or let's just remove 10 from it, or 30 self, just remove 7. So it's just going to remove a little bit of this thing like that. But the reason I have to toggle this because you cannot see it on mobile. No, mobile is not pointer, it is touch. So before you see it, you have to click. So which is not this thing. And that is why I created this one, so that that screen too, I can see how it's going to look like on the pointer device. But for the first one, that one is the touch. That's not. This is what we are working on. We are working on this. 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 Ah, I'm not. I'll call you back. I'll call you back. So now we need to scale it up. That's what we just need to do now. So let me take it to tablet. As you can see, or let me say even take it to small screen phone. It still look somehow, but you see that yes, but what we just, if you want to do it now, but I will not touch this one. My goal here now is this 768. Can you see? When you get to that 768, that's where things started going haywire. So what we need to do now, from this screen and above, we want to move them side by side. So what we can do now, what we can do now is to come here now and start with our media query. So at media like that, so screen on the main width. Why do I have to put screen there? It's because when you are printing, I don't want all this. So if you don't want all this to happen, or if you want it to happen every time, so you can just remove this one like that. So main width is 768 pixels like this. So what do we want to do? So on this screen, we want our main deflect direction to be column like this. So once it's saved, and we go back to the design there like that. So let me save. So am I on that screen yet? So what am I typing? This is supposed to be row. So save, and as you can see now, once you come to this screen, it change to row. So on this screen or anything below that, it places them on top of each other. But once we get to this bigger screen, it places them side by side. But there is something that is going on here. As you can see, this thing is getting bigger anyhow. So we don't want this thing to have more than what we have here like that. So what I can just do here is to do the max width to be maybe around that 500 or 450 pixels. So when you get to this screen, it will or maybe I can increase it later on, but let me use 520 pixels like that. So I think 520. So on this screen, it will never go more than 520, or let me just use 580 because we still have enough screen. But again, there's one place that we give this thing to be 1.8 and 1. So we need to return into 1, 1. So here we have the image like that. So the image is going to be flex 1, or it's already 1 already. So the other one is what we just need to change. We need to change that one of content. But that one is already 1. When you type 1, you are not affecting the stuff. So switch, as you can see now, but this one is already 1, so we don't need to. But again, we need to change the image. So we know here we need to do the image, then the desktop display is blocked, then the image, then the mobile display is none. Because at this place, we don't want to be seeing that mobile one. There's a desktop one we want to see like that. So when you're on the small screen, it will be using the mobile one. But once you switch to here and above, it will switch the stuff too like that. But there's a problem, or there is no problem, and that's is because I did not do it the other way. So that's why there is no problem. You see now that when we switch now, you see that this side and this side and this side and this side are the one that curve. But assuming you do it separately, you do it on this one, by the time you switch now, it will not be doing a stop, not the side again. So by assuming we are doing it from this section at the top, again to this one. So by the time I switch, what you now be seeing is that it will do this one here, it will do this one here. Again, too, for this one, it will do it here, it will do it here. So that means you have to type the CSS that you have to remove it from here. You now put it at this side. So that's why I said it depends on whether you want more work or just simple work like that. Since I'm doing it on the container, it's the container that the container is not changing. What is changing is the content inside. So this top is still always the top. This button is still always the top. This side is still always this side. So by the time it change and all those things, it's move it here, and the container I only change here, change here, change here, change here. So I did not really change the side. And since those sides are still there, or even the container, even when it change itself, it will still maintain that stuff because I change everything directly. So another thing you can do is to increase the text and do some other changes. But since we've limited the container not to go more than a specific size, but if you want to, maybe when we get to a bigger screen, so another thing we can do here at media like this. So when you get to a more bigger screen, for example, like 1024. So this is a small laptop. So here now we use 580. So this one should just be 670 like that. So when you get to, can you see now? That's not a problem. Why? Because we have more spacing at the bottom side like that. But what we can do here is to increase the text. You just increase all these text content so that, because here now this 14 is really, really small there. But don't let me do this because time is really fast spent. All those ones, they are extra stuff that you can always add there. But you can always make sure that things, because the spacing here now, I did not put that enough space. So at this place, when you change it, you can increase the padding around this box too. For example, no, not here, around the content. So what did I use on mobile? So mobile, I think I use 1. Yeah, so I use padding of 1 rem. But that top and bottom, I can increase it if I want. So I can just do padding block. So it's going to 1.25 rem like this. So save. So when you get to, no, not this side. So as you can see, it will increase the padding at the top and the bottom. Or you can even add more. Let's just go all the way to 2 so that it will add more. Now, there's a problem with this one because it's not 100%. So one way of solving this problem, since we know that the image you always cover up is parent, for this design, you can compromise this one and just say the weight is going to be 100. But now, can you see it? Because this one too, image. That's the problem. Let me return it back. And that's the problem I was trying to. I forgotten that we've included another image here like that. So that's the problem you used to cause. When you say 100, it must always full. So what we can just do is to talk to its own parent directly. So let's just come here like that. So where is it? So it's a generic setting for content. So here I don't care about content, the image that is there. No, I don't care whether it is mobile or desktop. The width should always be 100% like that. So let me see this one. So why is it not getting now? So section, then from there I have this image. So as you can see, it still did not get down to where I want it to get to, like that. One way of solving this problem is to use background image. Then from there, it will cover up the entire stuff, or you drag the stuff down. But there is no time to be doing that there like that. So one way of solving this problem, instead of you using image like this, what we can just do there, instead of using image directly, and that's why I don't want to use that, because you have to be adjusting the image anyhow, like that. One way of solving the problem easily is by using the background image. So URL now, then we use this desktop. This one too, let me display it as none for now. So save like that. So from there, you now adjust the height there. Did I copy the image? So image, yeah, because the AI type nonsense. That's why you don't agree to what this thing is giving you. So this is the text, but it's doing nonsense. So now, no, wrong side. It's supposed to be image. I put it at the wrong side. So where are you? I don't want. So image like that. So go up and save. So from there now you now adjust all those properties we've talked about. So background size is going to be cover. Background position is going to be center or wherever you want to. And can see now it will always adjust. Yeah, so on the container itself. But if you don't want to do this, then what you have to do is to, because that image now, you have to do some extra stretch on it, or we just remove this padding that, because the padding is more than one we put. So go there now. Oh, now yeah, turn this on. I need to turn this on to block like that, so that it can come outside. So that's going to be all, because I need to attend to this person that just called me.